Hey, Kung Fu Chronicles, we're back, this time with an entirely different topic. Now, when it comes to martial arts, there's always that question of who's the best?
Just wondering, best to be sure, who's the best?
Or what style is better?
What's your style?
My style?
Blah, 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 etc. You've heard it all before.
Show me some of it.
Later.
Now, Kung Fu's no exception. You say Kung Fu, and everybody immediately thinks Bruce Lee.
Dragon whips his tail.
Jackie Chan. Or even Donnie Yen. But brass tacks, when we talk actual fighting, most people think of, MMA.
Morris tries to get a combination going, unable to find his range there. And
or Muay Thai.
กำปั้นซ้ายไม่โดนขวาไม่ถึงเป็นมวยนะปาราซิโอ
And all that those styles bring to the table.
แม่กระโดดครับแล้วก็อุ้ยเหมือนบอลเล่ครับเหมือนเตะบอล
Lately, Kung Fu versus MMA has been a real hot topic. Actual matches have even occurred, some notable ones with MMA fighter Ji Jiadong, who's challenged a few traditional martial artists and Kung Fu masters in China. So I thought I'd take a few minutes to break down a fight or two and give you my take, and the take of another notable Ying Jiao Pai practitioner and noted instructor.
So Quasi brings something very interesting via Kung Fu Chronicles to this proverbial table.
Yes, Master Thomas Torres, Tomas. Sibak, as I call him, my Kung Fu uncle. He'll give you his opinions on the state of martial arts, Kung Fu of course specifically. Yes, Sifu Thomas Torres is a noted instructor of Shums Ying Jiao Pai down in the beautiful islands of Puerto Rico. As I said before, he's my Sibak or Kung Fu uncle. Now, full disclosure, many a discussion has been had on this topic between the two of us, and it all started with a noted discussion on the Joe Rogan podcast. You might have heard this one.
There's a lot of people that got upset at me because I said things about Kung Fu. And there's a lot of people because I said Kung Fu is kind of bullshit, and a lot of it is just like a bunch of people practicing things. Like, if I come at you like this, what would happen? I would move to the side and I would attack this way. It's like a one step. You know?
Imprint into your mind what to do once you start sparring. And then eventually you start sparring. But when you start sparring, that's when techniques really get weeded out, and that's when you understand what is the most effective use of energy and force, what techniques work the best, what techniques are really truly applicable, and what techniques are really kind of frivolous and a waste of time. There's better alternatives. Well, Kung Fu never did that. They didn't have all the sparring. They didn't have, Kung Fu didn't like go and enter into an Ultimate Fighting Championship where it was public and everybody figured it out and it was spread out through the internet, so there's the debate amongst all the minds.
Is Joe Rogan right? Is Kung Fu that bad? Well, the answer is complicated. It's not that simple. But let's just keep it simple for now. Joe Rogan is right.
Say what?
Amongst all the minds of different martial artists, whether they're kickboxers or wrestlers, there's a genuine consensus when it comes to mixed martial arts. And that genuine consensus is, here's the group of effective techniques. This is what actually works. Yes, you can wheel kick someone in the face. Absolutely. It's difficult to pull off, but you can wheel kick someone in the face. Can you monkey fist them on the nose? You can. But that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to jab and then 1-2. It's
What's a
jab
monkey?
right in.
What's monkey fist?
Apparently there isn't a monkey fist. Apparently I made it up.
I've been practicing Kung Fu, I guess, close to 40 years now. I'm actually called the old man here in Puerto Rico. I'm the old man of Chinchapay village. So yeah, I've been doing this for a while. So it's kind of hard for me to just say that Joe Rogan is right. But he is right. Can't lie, I can't deny it. Tribal or not, the truth is the truth. Kung Fu guys are not showing up to the octagon. Why is that?
I'm not saying that your shit won't work, and it's definitely better than knowing nothing at all. But as far as is it the best thing to practice? No. What a martial art is an art where you figure out what is the best way to attack and disable a trained killer. That's what you want to be good at. You want to be good at beating trained killers. You don't want to be good at beating people who don't know what they're doing, because that's what a lot of people are doing.
Here, a lot of lip service that Kung Fu is the deadliest art around, and that Kung Fu, true Kung Fu, is able to beat any Jiu-Jitsu guy, any Muay Thai guy. Anyone, but is that true? Well, I'll tell you this much. It's not true today. I mean, listen, it's like science. If we want to prove anything, go to the octagon. That's where you prove it. If you're that good, if you're a Kung Fu guy and you're that good and you can, stop someone with a strike, the mock strike, well, prove it. Prove it in the octagon. If you can't do that, then there's something wrong with your Kung Fu, right?
What a lot of martial arts are, it's you're developing techniques that really will never work if you're fighting against Anderson Silva. You're not going to get them off. There is no best one. The best one is all the effective techniques of all the martial arts. It's takedowns from wrestling and judo, kicking from karate and Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, submissions from judo and jiu-jitsu. There's all these different things. Leg locks from sambo. It's all of these, and you don't have to have. There's no correct combination of what to use. Some guys only use a few of the components, but they have a very unusual physicality, or they're very good at one of these aspects to the point where, especially like a stand-up fighter, like a guy like Anderson Silva, that's his number one specialty.
Okay, so my take. Listen, Joe Rogan's statement's a little bit biased, because let's face it, he's a UFC commentator. Besides the fact he runs the biggest podcast on the planet, and brings in MMA people, UFC people all the time. However, that doesn't mean there's no merit to his argument.
Check out the big brain on Classy. You're a smart motherfucker.
Because he's right. There aren't a great deal of Kung Fu guys repping in UFC or even training in MMA. But that doesn't mean there aren't some badass Kung Fu practitioners in the world who just haven't had the spotlight shine on them yet. Look, I get the general perception from other martial artists that they see Kung Fu purists and practitioners as no more than guys that jump and kick around in fancy pajamas. They don't see the real, true martial in our art. With the exception of, say, Wing Chun, where you have celebrities like Robert Downey training in it.
I think more than anything is you feel you're part of something that you respect.
And you've got the benefit of the Ip Man movies, or even like Chole Foot, where there's more focus on the fighting aspect.
Nice.
So Kung Fu does get a bad rap. In fact, I think that's why a guy like Jijia originally went out to show these old Kung Fu masters that what they were doing would not hold up. And hey, I'll keep it 100. Jijia is not the best MMA guy I've ever seen in my life. Like, who really thinks he could take out Edson Silva? Or even a retired Bass Rutten, for that matter.
He's letting one more look. Only one or two kicks.
Now, Sifu Torres just mentioned that he's got a history in Yingjiao Pai for over 40 years of training. And even he thinks Joe Rogan is right.
Let's get this right. I'm a Kung Fu guy. I've been a Kung Fu guy for close to 40 years. Kung Fu is my thing. So obviously, I know that we have some Kung Fu guys who can get down, who throw down, you know? But sadly, that's not everyone in the martial arts world or in the Kung Fu world.
Now, I'll share with you that the first time I actually got to train with him, back when we had a little group in Brooklyn, we had a school, he shared some basic takedowns and what might have even been perceived as wrestling moves. But even then, I got it. He was trying to show us that those moves aren't specific to just wrestling and jiu-jitsu or even MMA. We, as Yingjiao Pai traditionalists, had these moves in our system already. We just weren't using them. Leg locks, there. Waist locks, there. Takedowns, they were there. We just don't usually practice them enough. I'll actually never forget that because I was wearing my fancy little silk Kung Fu uniform looking all fly. I'm like, yo, I'm popping.
I'll be too busy looking good.
So he pulled me aside and he said, hey kid, don't wear these anymore. I mean, they make us look like we don't fight. He had a point. In fact, if you look at what other martial artists wear, in fact, mainly I'll focus on jiu-jitsu, karate, all those kind of arts, they wear gis. If you've ever worn a gi or wrestled with somebody in a gi, that material's tough. You can actually get on the ground with someone in jiu-jitsu and choke them out with a gi. You try to do that with a Kung Fu uniform, you'll probably tear it up.
As far as techniques, there's a general consensus of techniques that work. You know, the basic kicks, front kicks and ground kicks, axe kicks, wheel kicks. There's all this stuff works. But you know what doesn't work? What doesn't work is like crane techniques when you're standing.
As they say in the streets, let's not get it twisted. I love Kung Fu. I believe in Kung Fu. But Joe was right. You know, if you do not practice sparring, then what do you have? You just have an empty art, an empty vessel. My Sifu says, practice forms for 1 hour and fight for 2. I think that's wise.
Believe or not?
When it comes down to it, can you fight? Can you match your Kung Fu up against another practitioner in another art, or even just a street fighter? Are you that good? I say it's really about the person and how hard they practice. Those who practice forms all the time are gonna be good at what? Forms. And those who practice fighting are gonna be good at fighting.
Xavier getting a bit...
So for the past 2.5 years, I've trained in Krav Maga. It's also known as contact combat. Why? Not because I don't love Kung Fu. I always will. Look, it's my foundation. It's not going away. A punch is a punch, a kick is a kick after all. And the basics for me started there. And admittedly, Kung Fu has a lot. But I'll tell you what it doesn't have, at least for me and on my journey. Answers to weapon attacks, specifically gun and knife. That's the stuff where the rubber really meets the road. If I'm not learning good knife defense, I'm dead. Same thing with gun defense. And arguably, you can be even without any practice or training in any art. So to wrap up, I'll just say it. Joe does have a point. And he made a statement based on his perception of Kung Fu. I'm an insider, so I do know in Kung Fu we do have some badasses out there who could probably even take on Mike Tyson. Well, maybe not Tyson, but they can handle themselves in a fight. I do say this, as Kung Fu people, we need to do a better job of training. We need to train just as hard and astutely in our fighting as we do our forms. Now, I'm in no way perfect.
Tell us something we don't know, motherfucker.
But I do strive to be more of a complete martial artist every day.
All right, all right, all right.
All right, share, subscribe below. Comment, let me know what you like or didn't. I'm fine with both. And thanks to Sifu Thomas Torres and his folks in Puerto Rico for being part of this video. Catch you in the next round and keep punching.